Welcome everyone to the School Garden Talk Story session. We'll allow people to kind of join in over the next few minutes. In the meantime, please introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know your name, your school or organization, island, and one of your favorite locally grown foods. I'll put the instructions in the chat for reference. I know people are still joining. When you get a chance, please introduce yourself in the chat. For example, my name is Jennifer. I'm with the Department of Education as the school garden coordinator. And I'm on Oahu, which I forgot to put. And then one of my favorite locally grown foods is uwala. It looks like I can see a couple other people. Donna from Hawaii Ulu Co-op on Hawaii Island likes ulu, and Lady from UHC TAR on Oahu. Also, her whole family loves to eat kalo. Kathy from Hawaii Public Health Institute on Hawaii Island. I ah, it's moving. A big fan of ulu. Kaori from Wailua Elementary on Oahu, likes mango. Nina, Waipuna Chapel Preschool on Maui, loves papaya. Danny, hi Danny from Ho'ula on Oahu, loves uala. Weston, DOE Farm to School Coordinator, School Food Services Branch on Oahu, loves poha berries. Wow, yum. And Kaden from Kupu at UHC TAR, Farm to School Intern, loves ulu and mangoes. Please continue to introduce yourself in the chat. We'll move along with the meeting agenda just so that we can cover all of the great information we have for you today. Again, the theme is Hawaii Farm to School. Happy Farm to School Month. It's October. And what we'll do after our welcome introductions is some presentation time by our content experts. And then we'll break into small groups using the breakout rooms. We found that that's really good for deepening our conversations. Then we will reconvene to share highlights from our talk story session and close with a short evaluation. So thanks again to our presenters today. We have Weston Yap from the Hawaii State Department of Education School Food Services Branch. He's the Farm to School Coordinator. We also have Donna Shapiro from the Hawaii Ulu Co-op. She's the CEO. Weston, take it away.
Okay, aloha kako. Thanks for making time and for the opportunity to present Jennifer and Kathy at Hi-Fi. I'm going to try sharing screen and you should see a field of uala in just a second if I share the right one. Do you all see an image of... Oh, you're not seeing the right thing, are you? Okay, so hold on. I just did it correctly. No, I didn't. Hold on one second. Let me try this again. Share screen. Okay. Share. There we go. Are you seeing a field of... All right, it works.
Looks good.
Okay. Okay, all right, all right, all right. So the title of my presentation is Uala, Sweet Potato's Journey to School Meals. And what we have here is a beautiful image of the Hamakua Coast in Hawaii County. In fact, the majority of Hawaii's commercial sweet potato is grown on Big Island, along that east side of the Big Island. We actually export thousands and thousands of pounds of sweet potato to the mainland U.S. If anybody can recognize the variety of sweet potato in the top left corner, please put it in the chat. And so I am the farm to school coordinator for the Department of Education. I started this job last August 2023. This job was first held by Dexter Kishida back in 2018, 2019, when the Ainapono program was running full blast until COVID hit. But it was good for me, at least, that the program was reawakened back in last year, 2023. And what I've been trying to work on is trying to create systems where we can have a local product, not just as a pilot and a couple times a month where the students might get to eat it, but how do we make local food items on the regular procurement, which is a killjoy kind of word, pathway, so that it is something where the farmers can supply it regularly and get paid regularly. And that's in this presentation, you're going to hear a lot about how we menu things, how we select items, how product moves around. And I know that a lot of the people on this Zoom today are actually working in the gardens, school gardens, and harvesting food. And many have the intention and desire to put that food into the cafeterias. And I, I support that intent. And hopefully this presentation will just kind of explain some of the things that right now we have a bit of a challenge crossing that bridge, but also want to just emphasize by the end just how important the garden education and the sampling and cooking and sampling you do with the students is as far as like building safe and healthy eating habits for life. So can everyone see the title? Is it covered by the wording like my screen is? But it should say Destination Monster Mash October 2023. And that's referencing last year. October is Farm to School month, as you know. And what we did was, it's also Halloween. So what we did was take sweet potato, garlic sweet potato, a garlic mash, and feature on a menu. So whenever we do this, Hawaii has recipes that must comply with a thing called the U.S. Department of Agriculture's National School Lunch Program parameters to be a thing called creditable. And just what is this credible thing? It means that we're matching up with USDA's guidelines on salt, fat, now sugar. And the reason we make sure we do that is because if you look at DOE's budget for the total cost of food, which in 22 to 2023 was about $48 million, about 70% of that money is actually reimbursed by the federal government. So Hawaii being kind of limited in our economy and just needing federal support because we have a lot of children that we feed on free and reduced meals in order to keep the funding in those areas towards, helping kids pay for lunches when they need it. We depend on the feds to kind of reimburse us. And that's why crediting is so important. At the same time, though, it means that in terms of what the kids get in terms of salt and sugar and fat, it kind of that the kids may say, hey, the flavor, we need more flavor in our things. Okay, I'll just move along because I know we only have probably 9 minutes left or so. So we use Okinawa sweet potato, and there's procedures. We already talked about how to be compliant. Um, but the other thing is, every school, we try to do our best to make sure every student across the state gets the same quality of sweet potato, same quality recipe, flavor, and that the recipes that we roll out are repeatable, because different schools have different teams of chefs. We also, when we look at a recipe, it has to be scalable because it's great to do a recipe for your family of five, but then if we have like a Mililani High School has like 2,500 students, it has to be scalable using different kinds of equipment, different volumes of ingredients. So last year for this mash, it was about 25,000 pounds of sweet potato purchased statewide. And then also we needed that sweet potato to all be ripe and ready in October. And then I just kind of listed the ingredients in the recipe. And then there's things that we have to as dietitians think about, which is what's the serving size, how many carbs. Now, what's interesting in this slide is also how did we pair the sweet potato called Monster Bash with other foods on the menu that day. And you can see below roast turkey on one day, Korean chicken, hot dog at sweet potato, chicken tenders. It's that whole complete package that we have to think about in addition to that local ingredient. All right. This year, we're doing a dish called the Monster Mash. It's actually goblin goulash, aka Monster Mash, aka Chilean beef stew. I don't know how to pronounce that Spanish above, but that's the inspiration for this recipe. It was actually came in through kind of a contest with Hawai'i Child Nutrition program. So there's also sweet potato in this one, except it's also, in addition, it's a main entree with ground beef, bok choy, kabocha pumpkin, and we're adding sweet potato. And you can see, again, we have to scale up. So for 100 servings of this one, we're looking at 8 pounds for 100 servings. Um, all our school service managers across the state have to do that math in order to figure out how much sweet potato do actually need to order. They have to look at the number of students, whether it's 200 students, 300 students, do the math and kind of like back into the volume of sweet potato that they need. Now, on the bottom, you can see how it fits within a recipe or the menu and the recipe work together. We have our goblin goulash paired with steamed carrots, grape slushy. Then we have it with in the next day like a green salad. The next day, cucumbers, green salad. And some of you might be looking like the kids might want white rice. Well, they're not getting white rice or brown rice. They're getting a whole grain roll because the goulash actually has mashed potatoes in it along with the sweet potato, along with the kabocha pumpkin. So it's a meal in one, similar to shepherd's pie. Okay, so I showed you that, and I'm going to kind of back it toward the farm. DOE has looked at when it wants to serve this dish, based on that theme of farm to school, that theme of Halloween. When is the sweet potato itself available? So if you look, hopefully everyone can see the sweet potato and the calendar right there, January to December. We know that sweet potato is available year round, but the peak season for it is actually February to June, when and Donna will be talking later on, and she can speak to if she wants to about trying to align like when your delivery is expected with peak harvest seasons of certain crops. So it's on us if we know that October is when we want it to try and communicate with a farmer June, July, August. Kabocha actually takes 6 months, 4 to 6 months after planting to harvest. And I pointed out that, not only is it mostly grown on Hamakua Coast, but also on Maui, area called Waikapu. But it's also important, and school food service branch, I'm trying to push it to think about this more. Okinawan sweet potato is the primary variety we use, but the ancient Hawaiians had a couple hundred different varieties. And even today, in terms of biodiversity, because we know that if you plant and monocrop all one thing, certain diseases or certain pests are like, hey, it's buffet time. We're going to go after that one. If you're kind of paying attention to your different varietals, given that we're trying to be more food secure in Hawaii, different varieties will ripen at different times and have different disease and pest resistance. So I put that slide up there of a few different types of leaves of sweet potato, uala, as well as a few different varieties, and just the beauty of the different colors and skin shades. And also, it's on us as school food service managers to care about what's in the sweet potato in terms of nutrients, so you can see their vitamin C, potassium, protein. All right. So geographic distribution. Here in Hawaii, we actually have three different types of kitchens where the food is served. And so you can see that when we procure and distribute sweet potato, um, you see the red square, that's the central production kitchen. And those kitchens cook for their own student body, but they'll also run out the food to smaller schools nearby, which are the yellow triangles. I'm sorry, are the blue circles. Yeah, the blue circle says satellite. They don't have their own kitchen to do scratch. They have reheating capacity, and they have smaller teams of cooks and chefs in the kitchen. So the red folks feed the blue team, and then the yellow team, the yellow triangles, Those are school kitchens meant to feed their own student body. And I use koi just because it's easy to fit, pretty compact. But it's also to think about if you are a grower, a farmer, or a distributor of the sweet potato, where your trucks have to go. So on koi, you have 15 school campuses, of which there's 3 central kitchens and those 9 single productions. So you got to go to 12 different delivery spots. Kauai has, as of this year, an estimated 8,700 students. And if after we have to do the math now, right? If each student in that garbling goulash gets a 4 ounce serving within the recipe, then what's the math? Well, 4 ounce, quarter pound, 8,700 students or so. We have to be prepared to order about 2,170 pounds of sweet potato. And that's cooked part. So then we have to add on, okay, we're peeling skin. There's going to be some parts that are kind of bug eaten. We're going to cut that off. So maybe we actually have to bump that number up to 2,500 or 3,000 pounds of sweet potato in order to feed the kids when we need to feed them. Okay, next slide. So expanding that beyond Kauai, I just did some cowboy numbers here. Usually when we do an item that's not on our regular menu, we give the schools a choice. Hey, do you want to participate in this goblin goulash or not? And so what we'll do is we'll survey. There's 257 schools across the state, but in this case, we had school food service managers get surveyed. They thought about, hey, what will our students eat? And a total of just 48 schools said we'll participate. So that's how, if you see next, you see the second column, surveyed schools, 48 schools. Then I got to think about, okay, same kind of math. Each student gets 4 ounces of serving in the goulash. For the sweet potato, how much do we need? So you have the number of students in that column with a total across 48 schools of 27,000 students. That equates to about 6,187, 6,200 pounds of kabocha pump. That's actually supposed to say sweet potato, sorry. And then if we're trying to work in terms of 25-pound cases, because the vendors don't just ship bags of sweet potato, they have it in cases of 25 pounds so they can figure out the pallet and the ship. You see that top right image of the airplane, the cargo ship, the van. We're trying to, again, do math so that we get the right number of cases at the right volume to meet the need of the recipe for the students. All right. So I'm almost done with this part of the presentation, and please, if you have questions, feel free. One of the critical things that I've been trying to expand on this year is to utilize the farm to school network. And I listed here some of the organizations that do a really wonderful job of educating the students, because if we're doing this sweet potato recipe in October, in August or September, we try to communicate with the farm to school network volunteers and staffers to go out to the students, pull them into the garden, in the classroom, and help them understand what is sweet potato. Also, what is bok choy, and where does it come from? How do you grow it? So that they're enthused about it, that they'll eat their veggies, that when the dish is served, there's not a lot of waste and throwaway, which is the really heartbreaking part when that happens. Because we've learned if we just serve something cold and we don't educate the students beforehand, new recipes can run into some trouble. So we really appreciate the different organizations listed here for the work they do to prepare the kids and get them, again, excited. So that's the presentation. I am going to open the chat, see if any questions. I'm also going to stop sharing and see if there's any questions I can try and answer. Or just Jennifer, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I'm thinking I want to make sure that we have time for Donna to do her presentation
Okay,
too.
sorry.
So if people can think about the presentation and any questions that you have, we'll have a little Q&A after our second presenter. Donna, are you ready to go with sharing your screen?
Sure. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Wes, for that really informative presentation. Can you see my screen?
We see it.
Okay, perfect. So aloha, everyone. My name is Donna Shapiro, and I'm the CEO of the Hawai'i Ulu Cooperative. So we represent the farm and farm to school. And just a little bit about us. So we are a farmer-owned co-op, and we just celebrated our 8-year anniversary last weekend. So these are just some sort of metrics about our growth and our work with our farmers in the last year. We focus on staple food crops that are locally grown. Ulu, as our name suggests, is our focus, but we also work with other local and indigenous staple crops such as uala, kalo, and then the fourth main crop we work with is pala'ai, or like kabocha pumpkin, which is not a canoe crop, but a staple food crop that's been in Hawaii for several generations, was brought over here by sugar plantation workers quite a long time ago already, and is really well naturalized and grows well in Hawaii. So those are kind of the 4 staple crops you see down here. This is just a little bit about how a cooperative business works, in case you're not familiar. So our farmers, and we have just over 170 small farmers across 4 islands. So they all own the co-op, they own the business. And they patronize the co-op by supplying their fruit to us. The co-op handles basically everything out of the farm gate, from aggregation to post-harvest storage to processing, value-added production, and then finally marketing and educating the public about these crops so that they hopefully buy them. And at the end of the day, if we're profitable, those profits are distributed back to the farmers according to their percentage of the crop contributed in a given year. So that's how the co-op works, very community rooted. And I just wanted to provide you with a snapshot of who our farmers are. Our farmers are very representative of the Hawaii farming community. They tend to be super diverse, both in terms of their own ethnic background, socioeconomic background, and also in terms of the types of crops they grow. Pretty much nobody is monocropping ulu, and we don't promote that. We promote diversified agroforestry, and I would say that virtually all of our farmers are practicing it in some way, shape, or form, and how they practice it is really diverse because their microclimates are, and so forth. They also tend to be really small. So our average farm only has about 30 trees. And actually, almost a third of our farmers have 5 trees or less. So they're basically backyard growers. And you can look at some of these other demographic stats over here. We have a couple of facilities on Hawaii Island where we do our operations, our aggregation, processing, and storage. And this is really key in enabling us to work with the DOE and institutions in general. So our headquarters is in Kona. We lease a state-owned facility called the Honolo Marshalling Yard. And all these photos you see are from that facility. This is where we make our frozen product, and I'll show you our products next. And then in Hilo, we have another facility where we do our dry products, which is mostly ulu flour. So this is a picture of our products. And here you see a mix of retail packaging that you might have seen in the grocery store, as well as bulk packaging. We started with essentially this product right here, which is cleaned, peeled, steamed, and frozen ulu quarters. And this is what it looks like. It's a very simple, minimal process, really just trying to preserve ulu, which is a seasonal crop because it is a fruit, trying to preserve it so it's available year round and is really easy to use. So kind of taking all those hurdles out of the equation. And we have diversified into, as I mentioned, those other crops. So here's the kalo, pala'ai, and uala. But then we also have retail versions of all of these, which you can find at grocery stores like Safeway and Foodland. And this is what they look like. They're nice and colorful. We also have these 2 ready-to-eat ulu products, ulu hummus and ulu chocolate mousse, which is a non-dairy frozen dessert. And then this is our ulu flour. Ulu flour is naturally gluten-free. It's a really nutritious, high fiber, high calcium flour. And it doesn't work like wheat flour because it has, that gluten-free characteristic. So you sort of have to blend it with other flours or use it in specific applications. It works great in brownies, though. You can make pure ulu flour brownies, and they're really good. Okay, so here we get really busy, and I apologize in advance for all this text on the screen, but I didn't want too many slides, so I just dumped it all in here. So I just wanted to share a little bit about our farm to school experience, and I really have to just shout out the Hawaii Farm to School Hui, which we're a part of, and is just such an amazing organization, as I'm sure you all know. But really, I think they are, need to be credited with so much of the progress that we've made in Hawaii toward farm to school. So everything that we've done that I'll share with you about today was in partnership with the Hui and various partner organizations of the Hui. So I basically broke our farm to school work into three buckets. One, farmers supplying schools. So we did this for 3 consecutive school years. We actually met Dexter when he was in Wes's role at the end of 2017, when DOE did an event on the Big Island. I think it was Albert Scales actually who did a presentation about farm to school. And we had an intern at the time who approached him and said, oh, we're a farmer co-op and we're minimally processing ulu, and we'd love to supply the schools. And this was like only a year and a half after we had formed the co-op. And he was completely incredulous. And he was just like, I don't think so, like not taking us seriously. But we followed up, and, fortunately, they had someone like Dex in Wes's position who could focus on it, because that's really and truly what it takes, a lot of concerted focus. And so we're so thankful that Wes is in his role now. But we were able to pilot a single menu item in 2018. So really just a few months later. And initially it was a harvest of the month item, a harvest of the month menu item. It was an ulu kalua pork wrap. And then it turned into a regular menu item for which there was a bid and, regular distribution to all 250 plus public schools in the state. It also expanded to other crops. So banana, papaya, and uala, in addition to ulu. And it had a really huge impact on our farmers. It actually enabled us to diversify, to scale. It really did all those things that proponents of farm to institution or farm to state talk about, in terms of, local procurement being able to really just grow local food production. And so I'm a believer. I think it can work. And I also shared here on the upper corner here, this is just an example of one of the cafeteria posters that we made for DOE at that time. Unfortunately, this sort of ended abruptly when COVID hit because of all the menu changes. And I'll talk more about where we're at now. But in addition to procurement, we've done a lot of work with recipe development, including working directly with certain high schools like Kealakehe on Big Island and Waipahu on Oahu. We have a very big recipe collection where you can find a ton of recipes on our website. We have an Ulu Ambassador program, which is basically chefs, such as the culinary teachers at Kealakehe and Waipahu. They're on our Ulu Ambassador team, helping to develop recipes. And then a few years ago, we published a cookbook with Chef Sam Choi. So really trying to get recipes out there. And then the third bucket is educational resource development. And this has been a really big area. The first big project we did was develop this Ulu education toolkit, again, in partnership with many members of the Hui and also the College of Education. You can find it online now on the College of Ed STEM Squared website, and I put the URL there. We also developed this Kumu Ulu box with a lot of resources during the pandemic so that, parents could order a box and have something to do at home. And then finally, we developed the Ho'opili'i program with partners, and I'll talk about that a bit more, but that's really where our farm to school efforts have focused over the last couple of years. The last item here, child nutrition program resources, is a partnership with, just skip to here, a partnership with HCNP, Hawaii Child Nutrition Programs. that we did last fall. And this is actually a video series, and you can find it on our website, ulu.coop/child nutrition programs. This is a resource for cafeteria managers and food service staff that talks about how to source, prep, and then actually develop meals with Hawaii grown staple crops, the 4 crops that I mentioned. And we just updated this whole page with this new information based on the updated food buying guide that was released in April of 2024. And we're really excited about this and just really want to help get the word out that the USDA has, is now allowing all sorts of different kinds of vegetables to be credited as either a vegetable or a grain equivalent in Hawaii meals, in Hawaii reimbursable meals. And so previously this was an allowance for ulu, kalo, and poi only, and it's been expanded. So now uala for October harvest of the month and even pala'ai can be credited as a 1 ounce equivalent grain, and that's a 1/2 cup serving. Also, ulu flour is creditable as a 1 ounce equivalent grain. 16 grams of flour can be credited as a 1 ounce equivalent grain in baked goods. So this page is updated. Please share it with anyone at your school or that that might benefit from this additional information. I think it's a really great opportunity that we have to bring in these local staple crops in a bigger way. I borrowed this slide from Lydie. She has the best slide. So this is just a timeline showing the sequence of farm to school efforts that I described from the toolkit launching in 2019. We started working on it in 2018. The Hawaii Farm to School Toolkit launched in 2021. The Ho'opili program was developed in 2022, and it's now been running for 2 consecutive school years. In the last 2 school years combined, we served almost 30,000 people. So it's had really tremendous reach. And it's been quite popular with teachers, and we have funding available to run it again this school year. So there's a link later on, and we can share the slides as well. So I think I'm just about out of time. So I'm just going to give you a super quick update on what we're working on right now. And this is really I would say for the last 12 months, this has been our focus. So with support from a USDA LFPP grant, we
Grab
had
it nice, one at a time.
we hired Dr. Lauren Tamamoto from KCC to help develop and standardize 8 different recipes using local staple crops for DOE in partnership with SFSB. And last October, we did a big tasting with the menu planning committee and a panel of middle school students from Aliamanu Middle School on Oahu. And I'm showing you all the recipes here. I'm so sorry that it's busy, but you can see the honey butter roasted squash. This is the Team Nutrition recipe that's on the Team Nutrition list. Whole wheat ulu rolls used a existing DOE recipe and just substituted some ulu for the whole wheat flour. Ulu banana bread, if I'm remembering correctly, was made with ripe ulu, kalo poke. There's also a poi fei down here. Hamburger curry with kabocha, beef stew with ulu and using ground beef, and then an uala bake, which was a breakfast recipe with eggs and cheese. They were all really delicious. And SFSB took the most popular ones and has continued testing them with some other schools. And hopefully some of those recipes will make their way onto school menus. So ongoing conversations and efforts. Also, a really great development that I'm excited about is we've been working directly with SFSB to develop more educational materials, which I think was kind of a missing link from 2018 to 2020. And so this is just a sneak peek of where we're at with some of the ulu materials. And what we see here is these just small little handout like index size cards with fun facts about the crop and a Meet Your Farmer card. This is one of our co-op members with a quote and some facts about them. And the idea is that these can just be handed out to students to learn about and also take home and show their parents. There's also a big Meet Ulu cafeteria size poster, and then a cafeteria poster with tips for the cafeteria staff to help them just have the best experience possible with these products. Because that was also identified as an issue, I think, previously, that there wasn't enough education, not just for the students, but for the cafeteria staff to make sure that it's successful. And that's it. There's a few links here. Ho'opili'i is still, I think, our most, active farm to school program. And there's these great multimedia lesson plans. I'll share. Well, actually, Jennifer already has the deck, so you can share it out. We're trying to align well with DOE's Harvest of the Month calendar as well. Or at least the recipes that they're featuring in different months. So this is the calendar for this year, and this is on CTAR's website. And then finally, this link at the bottom is where teachers can request a sponsored box. And Jennifer, you're welcome to send out this link, but we have some funding now from Hawaii County to sponsor boxes, and we're always fundraising to be able to offer more boxes to teachers. Mahalo.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing all those wonderful resources. I'll make sure to share the links to the presentations, including those resources that you mentioned. I wanted to spend just a few minutes in reviewing the questions in the chat while our speakers are still here. It looks like Weston, someone was asking if they can get the goblin goulash recipe, if that's available to make for samples for the students.
That's a really great idea. Let me check on that with HCMP and my dietitian, Lindsay Nakamura, to see if we can. If we can, what's the best way to share it, you think?
You can share it back with me, and we can make sure to distribute it to everyone who registered to attend the talk story session. And I see that the request is from Danny, so I can definitely follow up with her. Thank you, Wes, if that becomes
Okay.
available. I
Yeah.
see there's also a question from Lacey about how to my chat keeps moving, and so that's why it's hard for me to read it. That how to get started. Where did it go? Oh yes, how to get started with implementing the crops and recipes in the school. Donna, do you want to take that question? What should they send to their principal?
Oh boy, this might be better for Wes. Can I tap you, Wes, to answer this question?
Sure. I've been learning about this process myself. Okay. The recipes and the development recipes. Let's put in the context of the recipes that Donna has worked really hard with Lauren Tamamoto, Dr. Tamamoto to develop. They put in a ton of work, and they did a lot of testing even before they tested us with our kids at a school together. And so what our dietitian, who would probably want to answer this question as well, does is she has to have the recipe analyzed in some ways to see how it fits with salt, fat, sugar, and then once it jumps through those hoops, and also that it credits. So again, I talk about 70% reimbursement. Then we take it to a school, we test it, ideally 15 students to 20 students at an elementary school, and then the same number at a high school because their taste buds are so different. And if those tests will get like more than 83% thumbs up from the kids, like we would love to eat this. It's the bomb, it's fire. Then it has a good chance of being scheduled. Once we know that the kids love it, it's then on us to work within our procurement system to see if we have all the ingredients. There's certain things that we would love to have on the regular, like honey or coconut milk, or what's another one? Some other herbs and spices. What's good is if we have a popular recipe, it allows us to work with our procurement staff to try and source those ingredients. And then once we have the supply of the ingredients and we have the student loving the recipe, it can get on the menu. Any questions?
Well, I was also going to add for the growing of the food. There's some really good resources on the Ulu Co-op's website, and then also Hawaii Harvest of the Month, which was featured in the in Donna's presentation. We're going to go into depth more with Hawaii Harvest of the Month materials in our next talk story session. But I did put the link in the chat in case someone is really interested in propagating uwala or pala'ai in their school garden.
Awesome. And I just wanted to add, if you're interested in getting like a ho'opili box and doing a Harvest of the Month event at your school, or doing a little demo with your students, you can even get the cafeteria involved to serve samples. All of that you can do, at any time, and all those resources are free and available on the website. And like I said, we also have funding. So fill out the sponsorship request form today and you're basically guaranteed to get some boxes. And hopefully we'll get more funding later in the school year. So that's one thing. And then the actual lunch or breakfast menu items that Wes was talking about are really a whole other can of worms, because they have to go through different channels. However, HCNP does have the Team Nutrition Grant right now, and I put the link to that web page in the chat. They've published instructions, thank you for sharing them with me, Wes, for schools to order and get reimbursed for the 4 crops: uala, pala'ai, local beef, and bok choy, I believe. And you do have to get trained. So that's the catch. You have to get trained and qualified. But I know that Curtis just did a training recently, and I believe he's open to getting schools trained up and qualified sort of as they come in right now, to make sure that the menus get rolled out. So there's a few options that are available right now, but you have to go through certain channels.
Yeah, just let me add that about certain channels. HCMP is discriminating or picky, what's the positive, about who communicates and who does what. So please, if you're a school teacher in DOE system, check with your school food service manager and to channel that communication rather than like going directly to HCMP. Okay, I just wanted to add this too, which is something kind of fun. We've been talking extensively with Minneapolis about how they operate their farm to school program. And one of the funny things, the interesting things they did was produce from small farms going to a distributor. How blemished can it be? There's a lot of ugly fruit and vegetables out there. And we're trying to put together, I'm trying to put together fact sheets, education sheets, kind of along the same vein as what Ulu Co-op has done, where I can try and show the farmer, the distributor, and the school food service manager, like, hey, this produce is okay. So I'm actually hopefully going to do a project where I'm looking for a lot of ugly fruit and making photos of it to do some education. So just something in the future.
Well, thanks again for your wonderful presentations. And if people still have questions, maybe this is an opportunity you can bring them to your breakout session to do talk story. So again, in order to facilitate kind of deeper conversations and connections to each other, we're going to have breakout rooms. And in that breakout room, we ask that you introduce yourself, talk about your experience with farm to school and locally grown foods in schools. Share maybe what's going well, what you're having challenges with, any resources you have. And then at 4:10, we will be reconvening into the large group to kind of share key highlights with the larger group. So pretty soon you'll see on your screen from Kathy an opportunity to join the breakout room. Uh, so we're recording so that we can try to provide access to the information to people who weren't able to attend. We know that sometimes people want to be here, but other things come up, and it's just really hard to be everywhere at one time. So thanks again for joining us. And I just wanted to kind of hear back from you all. What were some of the themes that emerged in your conversations, or what were some highlights? Would you be willing to share back with us?
I mean, I don't know if anyone wants to share, but I'm always willing to talk, that. We really just talked about some ways to engage our students in INA itself. I mean, loving the farm to school initiative, and then there's a lot of red tape along the way. But like as an educator myself, if I can't get it in the cafeteria, I can get it in their mouths. And that's the main thing, is because I think the kids have been missing a lot of ancestral food and connection to INA in a classroom, in technology all the time, that just connecting and building relationships is important. And so we just shared a few strategies to connect our students and to engage them in INA itself. I really love the resources shared today, and I'm super excited to look into more and implement them in some of my own personal classes. If I can't get the whole school, I'm going to get whatever I can. We don't stop, won't stop. Mahalo.
Oh, thank you so much for your energy and enthusiasm. We are making things happen wherever we can. Anyone else want to talk about some of the key points from their group conversation, or things that you enjoyed about the presentation, or that you maybe still have questions about? And if you're hesitant to speak, you can always add it to the chat. You can read it for
I can
you.
ask a question. I was wondering if the Ulu Co-op had any education on maintenance on the Ulu trees. I know they're doing a lot of farm and providing food, but I didn't know if they had any connections, if they're talking, if they have any resources to maintain, trim our Ulu trees, or even discover which varieties we currently have on campus.
I can speak to that. Yes, they do have a lot of resources online. I'm working on getting you a link here, but there's articles, videos. They have a YouTube presence, but there's an entire pruning resource. And yeah, so Hawaii Ulu Co-op, lots of information for growers of any scale.
Yeah, I love hearing that some of their, a lot of their producers actually only have a handful of trees, but how it's contributing, right, to our food system. I know it's almost, oh, do you have one more thing, lady?
Just to add to that, you can join the co-op with one ulu tree. Even schools can. So we'd love to see that happening. Yeah, and you can contact them directly. Thanks.
Oh, I love that idea too. So maybe it's not possible to have it in the cafeteria yet, but you can find a way to get it to your community, especially when you have a surplus. Some of our schools have a lot more than one ulu tree. So I know we're here at 4:15. I just wanted to say mahalo again to our presenters, for all of you who attended, let you know that we do have a session planned for October 17th, same time, same place. The next topic is Hawaii Harvest of the Month, and we'll go over some food safety basics at the same time. As a kind of brief reflection on today, I'd like to ask if maybe you could put one word into the chat that summarizes how you feel about participating in the School Garden Talk Story session and about Hawaii Farm to School. So I'm definitely hungry, but also I see hopeful, abundance, inspired. And as you are reflecting, I hope that you also have an opportunity for a yummy dinner tonight. And I hope to see you again soon. Thank you, everybody, for joining.